The arena was abuzz for the arrival of Fleury, the three-time Stanley Cup champion and reigning Vezina Trophy winner. Jessi Pierce covered the game for NHL.com. She also, of course, hosts Bar Down Beauties. And Jessi, hey, man, thanks for joining us. When I said keep in touch, I didn't think it'd be this soon. So thanks for fitting us in. And exciting night in St. Paul last night. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota fans are still kind of trying to figure it out today. Like, holy cow, Bill Guerin went out and did it. He got a name. You know, I think Minnesota for so long has never had a Marc Andre Fleury, right? Kirill Kaprizov has kind of put the Wild on the map on the national scene, but now Marc Andre Fleury coming to Minnesota, and it's a very potent team. But all the additions that Bill made really addressed a lot of the problems that the Wild have been suffering from. He gets Nick Deslauriers, who adds a little bit more physicality, takes some of that workload off of Marcus Foligno, who has found a scoring touch, although apparently Nick Deslauriers can also score, which is awesome. Jacob Middleton is back on defense, so adding up some size there. Tyson Jost at center, and then of course Marc Andre Fleury. So all in all, some really big moves, and just kind of shows that Bill Guerin believes in the squad, and for him to pull the rabbits out of the hats that he did at trade deadline was really something to see.
Wonderful wrap on that. Tell me, they say that Guerin and Fleury had this special connection going back to Pittsburgh. Can you take us, Jessi, behind this trade? How much of that connection went into what happened on Monday?
Yeah, you know, I asked Marc Andre Fleury just that, and he goes, you know, I love seeing Bill, and Bill popped his head in right away and said, hey, be nice, you know, make sure you say something nice about me. But no, I mean, I think it absolutely helped. I think the biggest thing for Fleury, and he was very adamant on this, on moving and leaving his family in Chicago, Minnesota's very close. And so that was kind of a big reason that Minnesota was on that very short list of teams that he was willing to go to. And he also believes in Minnesota being a contender. So I think combine all those things with the pre-existing relationship he has with Guerin and with his knowledge of what Guerin's able to achieve, it kind of made Flower say, yep, let's do it. And here we are today.
So the Wild, the last time we talked, you know, you had their schedule, or sorry, their record over your shoulder, and you were saying, you know, they were good then. This makes them a super team, does it not?
I think so. I mean, my, again, biggest concern for the bulk of this year has been the goaltending tandem with Cam Talbot and Kaapo Kähkönen. And no slight to either of them. They are fine goaltenders. But as we all know, fine is not getting you through the playoffs. So adding somebody with the experience, with the caliber of Marc Andre Fleury just really makes it a very serious possibility that they could get out of that first round. And then again, you add that physicality too, that everybody knows as the playoffs approach, it's a grind. I think Minnesota was really needing that and some help on defense. So it makes it a very real fact that, okay, this team is ready to go for it. And again, you look ahead at next year, it's because this cap space is going to be tight. Even this team that he put together this year is going to look different than next year. But I think that's why Billy G saw the window and he went for it.
I won't keep you long, Jessi. I know you're busy. I enjoy chatting with you, and I know you know your stuff, and I mean it when I say that. Just with the Flower, I'm a huge fan. And since Vegas got rid of him, it's kind of dampened my love of the Golden Knights, to be honest, because I love the Flower. Now, from what I understand, he's on an expiring contract, so is he looking past this year in mini, or just this run and hoping to win a fourth Stanley Cup? What's the future here for Marc Andre Fleury and the Minnesota Wild?
I mean, that's a great question. And again, that was something we asked both of them. And Bill Guerin kind of joked with media saying, can't I just enjoy my moment now? I will think about that come the off season, right? Because that is the big question, because now you have Cam, who still has another year. And again, Minnesota has $9 million, I think, total to play with in cap space. So, I mean, you already knew that you had players like Kevin Fiala and Matt Dumba, who you're possibly going to have to move just to be able to afford anybody else. But yeah, it makes you wonder what they're going to look at with Marc Andre Fleury. Would he stay here? But for how little could they sign him? Would he be willing to take a more team-friendly deal? And I think a lot of that obviously is how it shakes out this year, how it all ends up looking for them. You know, because you're going to need a bridge player, a goaltender, until their prospect in Wellstead is ready to come up, because obviously he, I think, is the future of Minnesota. So that's a great question. I mean, I'm sure everybody here in Minnesota would love to say, yes, let's keep Marc Andre Fleury. But again, those darn numbers in the bank make it a little bit more difficult.
Salary cap really screws things up, doesn't it? Completely off the board. Jennifer from the Four Seasons is watching on Game Plus TV, and she wants to know, who's the biggest name to ever play for the Minnesota Wild? And you know what? That stumped me a little bit.
It's so true.
question?
right? I mean, I think Marian Gaborik, outside of Kirill Kaprizov and what he's bringing to the team now, but I think Marian Gaborik was probably the only big well-known. Obviously, Ryan Suter and Zach Parise, I think, brought a little bit more attention when they were the big UFAs that signed here back in 2013. But even they were kind of under the radar. Gabby was everything that Minnesota had wanted. You know, he was hurt a lot. But yeah, they have never had that NHL superstar like Marc Andre Fleury, one that everybody knows, loves, and respects under their regime and their franchise history. So I would say Fleury now is that guy, with Kaprizov naturally setting up to be that player as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. And she goes on to say, seems like the Wild seem to always be in it, but I can't say who was the biggest superstar to be there. Danny Heatley came to mind, who I think was an NHL All-Star in his time in Minnesota, but he's not in the pantheon of even a Mike Modano, which, reminds me, do the North Stars and Wild history meld at all, similar to the Wild and Coyotes? How does that how does that work?
That one's a tough one, right? There's a lot of feelings surrounded the North Stars and the Dallas Stars, especially because they just kept the Stars name. So a little bit. I mean, people in Minnesota love their North Stars. You saw those reverse retros last year, paying homage to the North Stars colors. So a little bit. And yes, if you were to go back there, you would say Mike Modano. But I think because they relocated to Dallas, the Wild are really trying to place their stamp on Minnesota and place their own history and create a tradition here. So it's a good first step because, yeah, they've been very, very Minnesota, I like to call it, kind of very vanilla. Like they're always just kind of there, but it's never, now we're adding the chocolate topping and Marc Andre Fleury with the cherry on top, I think.
Absolutely. And let me just ask you this and I'll let you go. You heard what I read going into the segment here about the building buzzing with the Flower showing up yesterday. What was that like, A? And B, was there ever any chance that he was going to start against the Golden Knights on Monday?
That would have been something, right? That would have made my story writing quite a bit easier because that would have been hilarious. No, they took a private jet to Chicago, picked him up. So, I mean, there was always that question, like, is he going to be able to even make it in time to back up? But he showed up right before Bill Guerin had his availability and chatted with media briefly. Him having started the night before probably made it a very rare occasion that he would go. And I think they wanted to give Cam Talbot that confidence, right? You wanted to still let him know, hey, yes, we went out and signed Flower, but we want to work you two together. I think Dean Evson had a great quote post game saying, hey, why can't they both be our go-to goalies? Why can't both of them get this job done? It's not going to be just one or the other. Just because we signed Marc Andre Fleury, that doesn't mean our method changes. He's going to evaluate game by game and see what happens. That being said, I'm sure you will see Fleury in net against the Vancouver Canucks come Thursday, but from there on out, who knows? I mean, Cam Talbot riding a 6-game winning streak right now and coming off that shutout. So he certainly is making a case for himself, but obviously everyone knows what Flower can bring as well.
For sure. Honestly, man, I could talk to you all day. I got like 10 more questions, but you're busy. Thanks for this. Check her out at NHL.com, Bar Down Beauties podcast as well. Jessi, big fan. Thanks for this. Good luck following the run. Maybe we can do it again.
Let's do it anytime, Rod. Good to talk to you.
Jessi Pierce joining us from Minnesota. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.